We are the...
Quirky book sirens.
Yes. And where does the name come from?
Well, we're quirky, and we like books, and we like mermaids. This one mermaid. We like mermaids, but we really like this one mermaid book quite a bit. It has childhood meaning to us. I used to read it to her on rainy days. She says I forced her to read it with me.
A little bit.
But I like to remember it being more of a mutual love of this book called The Mermaid Summer by Molly Hunter. Molly Hunter, I think that's the author.
Probably. I have it on my shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
We are sisters, by the way, in
We are
case
sisters.
people are confused. And she was talking about me. And this is our video blog, I guess.
We are going to talk about books, obviously. Literature. We're going to talk all sorts of things revolving around writing and books and literature. And my sister here, she does book trailers, so we'll probably have a feature on creating book trailers and what makes a good one. My name's Katrina. I'm actually a writer. I write under K.M. Randall. I write young adult paranormal and fantasy. I have 2 books out. One is called The Reaper Solder, and the other one is called Fractured Dream. And this is Sheila. She's going to tell you about herself.
Yes, my name is Sheila. I read a lot of fantasy and science fiction. That's kind of what I was brought up on. Growing up, I read a lot of young adult L.J. Smith type of books before she was super famous, like when she was famous back in the 90s, before people really knew anything about her.
Until they destroyed her work.
True.
In TV shows. Sorry, Vampire Diary lovers. Read the books. They're way different.
And then stop reading after what? Book 5 or something?
Book 4.
4? Yeah.
Be done.
Yeah.
Be done.
Yeah. Much better in the old days, unfortunately.
That's true. So anyways, this is our Halloween debut. Well, it's our Halloween special, and it's also the Quirky Book Sirens debut episode. And we're doing kind of like a throwback because it's Halloween later this week. So we're going to talk about all our favorite young adult horror novels from back in the day. Starting with, drumroll, Richie Tankersley, I can't even pronounce her name, Richie Tankersley Cusick, who is so awesome that she actually wrote for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show, which is my favorite show ever. But Sheila has a special love of one book.
I do.
Can you tell us what it is and why?
Silent Stalker. I have read this book probably religiously once every year, and I can't really explain why I love it so much, except for the fact that there's 3 brothers that are after this girl, and they're all hot, and it's a castle, and
everybody hates love triangles now, but we liked them.
Yes, and I still like them. And there's a Renaissance festival, and lots of people wearing dresses, and then, of course, there's the murder behind the scenes and the people that are stalking her and danger lurking in every hole of the castle. And though it's a quick read these days for me, I can finish this in about 2 hours, I love it. I probably know it pretty much by heart these days.
Why do we think that people hate love triangles nowadays?
Maybe just because it's so popular, and Twilight has invaded everybody, and it's a love triangle. So
it's a trope. You know what it is, though? I did read somebody saying one time that they can't handle when the main character has to undergo through so much pain from having to choose between 2 guys. And I was like, well, that's an interesting perspective.
I guess I understand that, but at the same time, if they're not going through the pain of 2 guys, then they're going through the pain of something else.
That's very true.
There's going to be pain. There's going to be something in the book that causes pain.
That's true. Good point.
The book's not going to be good.
So, one of my favorites from the same author, Richie Tankersley Cusick, was Vampire. Perfect for Halloween. Now, I just need to read you the first sentence on the back of this book because I think it's interesting that this was marketed at young adults with this sentence on the back. It's Darcy Thomas's summer home, the Dungeon of Horrors, owned by Jake, the gorgeous, green-eyed uncle she's just met. Why?
Mm.
Why are we talking about her? Why is her uncle described as gorgeous?
It was the 90s, right? Incest was in.
It's a little creepy. Well, it was in if you were B.C. Andrews.
Yeah, true.
But she actually hooks up with this uncle who actually you find out isn't really her uncle in the book. He's like adopted or something. But it's still kind of weird.
That makes it okay then, right?
I thought it was funny when I was rereading the back recently and found that because, I don't know, I guess I never thought there was something wrong with it when I was a teenager or a young adult, teenager, really young teenager. Although, okay, I'll be honest, I still read these sometimes. Now, here's a couple others by her. There was Fatal Secrets and Help Wanted. Did you guys ever read these? If you read Richie Tinkersley Cusick, I would love to hear which ones were your favorites. Next, we're moving on to, you got it, The King of Teen Fear. Fear Street, R.L. Stine. Although most younger people did Goosebumps, which is obviously because that movie's coming out in the theater that I really want to see. We're going to see it.
I think I read Goosebumps in like 3rd grade.
I think it was the younger version. Fear Street was like the more scarier version of R.L. Stine's books. I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember ever being that scared though.
No, they're just fun to read. And then there was also, who I think is ultimately the main horror book writer of my teen years, was Christopher Pike.
A good one.
Christopher Pike, I feel like is kind of a genius. He kind of came to me when I was in my horror phase, and then he like got more like spiritual when I was like getting more spiritual about things, and so he was really fun to read. I think that his books, like some of his later books, like are actually like genius. Like some of the concepts he does, I think he's a genius, and I'm upset that I don't think he's writing much anymore. There's a couple more. Give Me a Kiss. That was a good one. That's not Christopher Pike. Final Friends. This was the series that got me that brought me into the Christopher Pike world. Fall into Darkness. I've read these books like so many times. I've even read them into my adult years. I can't get rid of the box full of them. I love them. Now, did you ever read Carolyn B. Cooney stuff?
Maybe like one if I found it in your box when I was like 13, but not prolifically. I actually remember.
She's probably the creepiest writer. Really creepy.
I think Anne Rice could be pretty creepy too, but she's not really young adult.
Really young adult.
Yeah.
Anne Rice was not young adult.
Yeah, true.
Not at all.
I was just reading it as a young adult.
Yes, so was I, but it's not actually in the young adult genre at all. This one was pretty creepy for young adults. And then she had this other series that's like called The Fog, The Storm, or something like that. The Fog was the first one, and it was really creepy. It was about this like couple that runs a boarding school for the kids that live on the island, and like they like slowly drive all of them crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I would have enjoyed that.
Oh, it was a great book. It was really creepy. This one, the cheerleader, is part of a series where there's like this essence. It's supposed to be like the vampire, but he's like a vampire that sucks like energy, and he like tells the girl that if she wants to be popular, that just to bring the popular girl home, and she brings the popular girl home, and next thing you know, she's like the cheerleader, and the popular girl is walking around school like washed out with no friends.
Oh, her energy gets like, transferred.
Sucks it all out, and like these are creepy books. These were Horror High, Heartbreaker. Oh. Did you read these ones?
No. You were the horror reader as a kid. I didn't read as much as you did.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're just in love with the one book.
Though these days I am reading a little bit more, and I'm shocked to find out that I actually kind of like the genre. I like soft horror, though. Soft.
What's the difference between soft horror and hard horror?
feel like soft horror, and I guess this is my definition, so people can't like use this. But my definition is it's just not quite as gory, not quite as awful. You know? It's just not like if you're watching the difference between like Saw 2 on TV and which is like hardcore horror and
I thought you were using a term I'd never heard before. No.
no. And I don't know what maybe like true like CSI or something, which is kind of it's crime, but it's kind of horror too at the same time, you know, because you got people hurting each other. I feel like that's more like soft horror than somebody just taking a hacksaw to somebody.
Do you watch Criminal Minds?
I do.
What do you think? Because I think sometimes it's hard horror.
Well, I think it has parts that are hard horror, but overall the arc is more it's more focused on the team itself than it is in the actual crime. I feel
Yeah,
like.
I don't know about that because there's times when they show lots of gruesome.
Yes, I know, but I don't know.
I've had to stop watching it lately because I can't. See, I used to love horror, but not so much anymore.
Okay,
Like rock on to Hellraiser. I don't get it.
maybe my definition then would be that soft horror has more of a plot and it's plot driven versus hardcore horror is more just gore driven. I guess that would be my definition.
Oh, I forgot to tell everybody. I wore my spiderweb earrings for Halloween. That's relevant, but I wanted everybody to know.
Hey, I looked for my witch's hat. I couldn't find it. It's somewhere in a box deep in the depths of the basement. But these days I have a few readers that I read that are horror, but they're not young adult usually, aside from some short stories here and there, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk
I
about
can't even
them.
think because like nowadays paranormal is kind of the young adult is like kind of ruled by paranormal, which I write, but I don't really classify it as horror.
No, I don't classify paranormal as horror. What I do classify is specific vampire zombie books are technically horror. Twilight's not really horror.
No, not at all.
It's, when the vampires are the good guys, it's. But like, I mean, the classic Dracula is gothic horror. So if you take versions of that type of vampire, that the evil kind, I think there's a lot of those that exist still. I think vampires kind of walk a fine line between being fantasy and horror.
You mentioned L.J. Smith earlier, and we should totally have a conversation about that because, I feel very strongly about it.
About
You
the
do
fact that her unfortunate situation with her copyright laws.
So here's the truth in case you don't know. L.J. Smith wrote these books, Vampire Diaries, 4 of them, in the 90s. So they all take place in the 90s, and she started all these other series too. She had The Secret Circle, which is about witches. That's an awesome series as well.
It's my favorite.
There was
The show doesn't live up to it.
what's the Dark Visions? Is it Dark Visions?
Yeah, I think so.
Series, and that's about like a bunch of teenagers that have like
Special
telepathy
pus.
and ESP and stuff.
Speak to
And
animals.
Yeah, paranormal powers, and then there was the series.
Was it the Chase Dark? The one where the chasing happened.
Forbidden
Game.
Forbidden Game series, which was another one of your favorites. I like that one too.
I haven't read that one in years.
I always like the characters in it. Well, I like the mythology in it. And then there was. What am I forgetting? Am I forgetting one?
I think those were the 4 main ones.
Oh, no, I know what I'm forgetting. Hello, the Night World series. Series.
Which we are still waiting for the last book, and I've been waiting for about over 15 years for her to write the last book, and I know she doesn't like fans talking about it because
Oh, she gets
feeling,
angry about it.
she's feeling a little pressured. I understand. But when you've been waiting 15 years for a series you love to
I feel like
come
it's like 20
out,
years.
well, no, well, it was probably like 1983, 1984, right around there.
It's 20, that's more than 20 years.
Okay, wait, I need to figure this out.
Yeah. So anyways, she had some awesome books out and we loved them. Like I've read Vampire Diaries a million times. Flash forward all these years, she had a sick mother, she stopped writing. Flash forward all these years, suddenly she comes out of the nooks and crannies of Twilight and starts writing again and and announcing that TV is making her show into a television show. And I was so freaking excited. I was like, oh my God, she's back. This TV show about first episode. I was done. Donezo.
Yeah, I know.
Because it just destroyed the book that I know. And as anybody knows, you read a book, you watch a movie that's nothing like the book. How upset are you? If you can't separate the two, then you can't watch it. It's too hard. So I'm still bitter, even though it became like this super skyrocketing popular show. And so here's the thing. She wrote a couple new books in the series, and they did this ridiculous thing of bringing technology into the first one, which was like cell phones, which is so silly because they were written in the 90s, and they take place like two weeks later.
It's ridiculous that from one book to the next, all of a sudden there's technology, and there wasn't in the last.
Well, then they wised up and they took that out of the next one. But at any rate, she got thrown out of the series, and they now have a ghostwriter write all of the books that are under her name in Secret Circle and Vampire Diaries series because of contracts she wrote when she was young and didn't know better. And she got screwed, which makes me mad, and I won't read that series anymore.
But you can read her fan fiction.
Yeah, she writes fan fiction now that she carried on the series in her own. Well, it's not really fan fiction. I call it. I think
the
it's
real version.
True, the version.
Agreed.
Because it's actually written by her, and you can actually find that but she has to write it under fan fiction to get outside of all the contractual law shit.
Yeah.
Now you can buy them on Amazon.
Which I have to do still. I haven't done it.
I know. I actually have them. I need to read them. But we have to, we should include the links for those just because. Supporters of L.J. Smith. Holla. Not the publishing company that screwed her over.
Yeah, exactly. Support her fan fiction.
So if you haven't read the books but you watch the TV show, read the books because they are amazing and they're so nothing like the TV show.
And much better than the TV show. I've watched like a season of the TV show and I keep trying to make myself like the TV show, but I'm having a hard time. It's not a bad TV show. Unfortunately, it's just...
Elena's not even in it anymore. I definitely can't watch it anymore.
That doesn't even make sense. How can you take the main character out of the books?
I can't tell. They didn't even include a character. Meredith was never in the book.
No, I know. She was one of my favorites. I was so upset about that. They made Bonnie more like her.
I know.
I was like, okay, so you combine two characters into one. All right, I see what you did. Not working for me. Bonnie in the books is kind of like this ditzy little thing. It's more bubbly, and the Bonnie in the show's not quite.
More like Meredith.
Yeah, she's more like Meredith, who's more
calm and collected and cool.
Yeah, and studious.
I mean, I haven't watched more than one episode in full, but I've watched parts of episodes, even though I can't deal with it. So, but I did. Okay, so Klaus, he's a character in the books, but he's only in it for one book. It's
not like the main villain.
Like a recurring character. They have their showdown with him. He's badass, whatever. So I never watched him in the Vampire Diaries show, but when they spun off the originals, I was able to separate it enough that I actually am a huge fan of the originals.
I haven't watched any of it, yeah.
It's a good freaking show. I watch it all the time. It's good. It doesn't even I don't even equate it to Vampire Diaries, or I try not to. They had a crossover episode one time. It was so annoying.
I guess I'll have to watch it. See if I can get into it.
Yeah, you should. It's really good. Phoebe Tonkin, she's my favorite. Anyways, what other horror things could we talk about?
Well, there's the scary storybooks from when we were kids, or at least from when I was a kid. I still have reoccurring nightmares about spiders coming out of me when I'm taking a bath. and
Yeah,
crawling
but
all
that's
over.
like an old, like, it's like an old, like, spooky story.
Yeah, but it's still like haunting me since I was like 10 years old. Like every time I see a spider, I think about it.
Quite honestly, that story haunts me too because I always think about the girl had the big bump on her face, and all of a sudden, like, it hit hot water, and all these little spiders crawled all over
That's
her face.
exactly the story I'm
It
talking
actually
about.
still sticks in my head too, so it must be a pretty, like, traumatic story for kids.
I think it
If we
is.
both are remembering it and both having those, like, imagery issues with it.
Yep. Um, I sometimes wonder if it's not possible. I've never researched it, but I'm scared enough that I think maybe it could happen.
I always remember the story of, like, the nail scratching on top of the car when it breaks down. Like, it's like a couple, like, breaks down, the guy gets out and goes to get gas or whatever. And she locks the doors and she's sitting in the car and she hears like a snail scratching. And then when it's all over with and she found the cops finally come and everything, you find out that, like, he was murdered outside the whole time and this killer had been scratching at the top of the car.
Creepy. I don't think I read that one.
I used to read all of those ghost stories. I used to be so into them. It was a lot of fun.
Anyways,
Anyways, I think that we have, like, come to a conclusion of our first show.
so read horror for Halloween in the spirit of it.
Although I won't really be reading horror myself. I'm just talk to you about it.
No, but I'm starting to read a little bit here and there. Some
Yeah,
authors.
you.
Well, when I do the review blog, sometimes horror writers
Oh,
ask me to
do
read.
we even talk about that?
Yeah, we do a book review blog, so there's that for authors.
This is a spin-off of Cellar Door Lit Rants and Reviews, which is a book review blog that I started, and she basically runs nowadays, but it's just kind of a spin-off of that. So all these videos will be available there, as well as
Yeah.
here on YouTube.
Mm.
So I hope you please join us again for our ramblings. And
I guess that's it.
have a happy Halloween.
And
And I hope no spiders come crawling out of your skin.
eat lots of candy. Okay. Laters.